All right, everyone. I just wanted to start off with a trade review this weekend. I've had a lot of feedback from a lot of traders on YouTube and also from Twitter who wanted to review certain uh, trades that I mean, they wanted me to basically do more of these videos where I cover the trades I've done. It definitely is a good way to learn. It's also a good way for me to review my trades as well. Um, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to not keep this too long. Hopefully you guys will appreciate the reviews and also the little tips and stuff that I like to discuss with a lot of traders when it comes to how to read the tape to trade off the dome, look at velocity, correlations, and all that. So let's jump into several trades here. So this is April 14th. I always have the general view of the context of the day. So I like to put this in also in my videos when I go over the trades. At least I could remember the context of the day as well. So this day here, again, we had a pretty balanced overnight where, it's been basically all about ES making all-time new highs, and Russell's been weak a couple of days. So let's jump into a couple of trades here. One thing I like to do is generally not trade a lot very aggressively when it's a balanced overnight. So I was very patient this day. I kind of delayed my initial trades and wanted to really see what was going on. Um, I wanted to see why, the euro was very weak that day. I mean, not again, I said why, but basically the euro was very weak. So when the euro is kind of like weak, one of the indices always has some kind of a weird momentum to the day. This is something I've been noticing a lot. So the euro had started going towards its lows, and ES was basically towards its highs, but NQ was really flip-flopping up high, very rotational. So got to be very careful with these correlations sometimes, and it does make a difference in my trading. So I like to make sure that I'm reading the overall context well before I try to jump into several trades and you know just kind of blindly think, oh, the whole market, so the overall indices are very strong, and kind of like have a bias that's not going to help me with my trading. Here's a trade where the Russell had started really becoming very weak. A lot of selling had come in. Again, ES was still around the highs, but Euro had kind of backed off the lows, and I went in short because I had been noticing this 945 had been very sticky and the market had been rotating a lot here. So let's look at this trade here. So I scaled into 2 here. I was very aggressive on that second entry. I could have maybe waited and maybe tried to add another um, position maybe around the 50s, because with NQ, if your first entry is just very close and there's nothing really against you on the tape, there's always a good possibility to always scale into another contract. A lot of traders might say, oh, NQ is very fast and it's too quick for me or whatever, but it once you start kind of getting used to trading it, it definitely does work well with ranges. So you kind of have to define a range that you're seeing, and you need to be able to calculate the volatility and the rotations around it. So for example, the way I look at that is, let's say NQ has been rotating around for the last 10 15 points in a range where it's like 10 15 points. You want to kind of divide that 10 15 points into maybe 3 or 4, and this way you kind of get your entries around rotational maybe 5 to 6 points, and you know that, and then see how many ticks to the upside it goes and how many ticks to the downside. It's just your eyes get used to it, and you want to kind of look into that pace and that velocity kind of doesn't really shift very often. It's very, very predictable. The only thing is when you're in a trade and it starts shifting and the momentum really picks up, that's where you really want to add another one to really get that extra 5 to 6 points out of your trade. It takes time to kind of discover what NQ does, but on the dome, I believe that's why it's very easy to trade it, other than trying to trade it on a candlestick or a chart, trying to trade it on a chart, or off the I don't know how you call it, chart trader. Some traders trade off the chart and it's called chart trader. I think that's really difficult. Seeing these rotations on the dome, seeing how many ticks to the upside, to the downside, and the momentum. If these blocks that we're getting, are they really pushing prices lower? Does it really have an impact right away, or are they just getting absorbed? These are little nuances that you really get used to seeing on NQ. So let's look into this trade here where I scaled into two shorts. Um, very bearish tape. I mean, the way I look at it is I would just stop this and say, what's going on here? And it fairly looks pretty bearish, right? And then you look at Russell's been bearish. Again, ES was very weird that day. It was just all-time highs, and I think the ES with the correlations has really been different to the last couple of days. But Russell and NQ has been pretty easy to trade.
Sell.
So here I'm just looking at different levels where I could add to selling, but it just picks up, and I just manage it from there. So you see, every time you see the blocks coming in, you see the price really get affected really quickly, and look at the velocity here. This is the kind of momentum I want to see. So I'm gonna try to rewind here 10 seconds if I can, but here we go. Let's just give it a couple of seconds here. Here it should come. Look at that. Look at that. That's the kind of velocity you want to see. So the way it started off, if you notice, that's just how NQ is. A lot of people are always looking at how fast it plays, but it's not always about how fast it moves. It's also how slowly it's doing its thing, and you kind of track that velocity. This is little details that I go over with traders when I do coaching with them, and I kind of explain what you really need to look for. And just because I had a couple of questions on this, on my domes here, I have price. Sorry, this is the offers, right? And this is the bids, and then this is my order column. And here there's this extra on the NQ. You won't see it because the ranges are very, very extreme. This is the delta. So for example, on this trade here, I was trading NQ, but just for the example here, this is when ES made a move from wherever I stopped the delta, which I could just erase here. I can just cancel it, and it tells me what the delta is. So I don't need a chart or anything to tell me. The reason why I have this is if I kind of leave my desk for a couple of minutes or whatever, and I come back, I just want to see what's going on. I don't even need a chart to tell me that, oh, we've just had, I think here it's positive, so it's positive 3,538 deltas. So most likely buying was very aggressive. It's a quick way to see it. And on NQ, I really do reset it more often, and just on this trade I just probably didn't, because I was mostly focused on the 946 area, and also the tape that was really getting negative. I mean, the selling was really aggressive. So as you can see, I'm just managing the trade here now, and I already got a nice profit out of it, and I can see that, I'm just looking at where I could put a stop just to not lose on this trade, because you don't want to keep it at break even after it's moved up this much. The reason why I'm letting it kind of run is I already took, I'm going to show the P&L after, I already took a couple of profits off of the initial position. So I think I scaled into another one, so I'm most likely in 3 or 4 contracts on this, and I have that runner that I just want to see how far this could go. And the reason why is I kind of want to see how, if the buying that's coming, does the buying really affect, and is it all the indices moving up at the same time? These are little things that I like to see. When you get used to managing your trade on the dome like this, it will eventually be obvious, and you kind of have to relax and let the trade run. I understand some traders are doing this with micros, which is most likely less stressful. I mean, if you have four, five, six micros there that you traded, you could try to always have a runner, right? And and then it's all about seeing the correlations, and if anything that you don't really want to see on the tape does appear. So if I only had one contract here, just me seeing these blocks, I would have already taken profits and closed this trade. The reason is I had 3, 4 contracts that I scaled into, so I could have one to try to get that runner, additional runner. So let's just
Sell.
look at this here.
Sell. 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 Sell.
So look at the velocity. I mean,
Sell.
it's just
Sell.
squeezing higher
Sell.
and moving back
Sell.
down.
Sell. Sell.
And it's not, the
Sell.
tape isn't showing anything really aggressively on the buy side for me to just close this trade right here. So I kind of let it
Sell.
run a bit.
Sell. 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 Sell.
So that's the first time where I see that multiple blocks come in, and let's see how that went.
Sell. Sell.
37s, 37s, oh, we back to 35s. So again, this buying is not initiating anything, so I'm willing to let it run again. I'm still very patient with this to see if I can get,
Sell.
a nice.
Sell. Sell.
Again, it's a personal thing, but I just like to have 400, 500 bucks on one contract. That's like the, how can I say it? It's like the most good feeling that any trader could have. I mean, really catching that good momentum. That's why you need to learn to scratch a lot of trades, because once you scratch 2 or 3 trades and and then you catch one like this where you scale in 2 or 3, you need to get to that point as a trader where you scale into these. This is real momentum. Like, this is the kind of trade your conviction is at the highest levels. You really want to add to these kind of trades, and I let this one run because I knew that there that it's that feeling where it's also the context, because like I said, ES range bound, Euro range bound, Russell again was a bit weak too. So that the fact that ES was strong and NQ was moving really like very rotational, I knew that this kind of trade has to, this the context was good for this kind of trade.
Sell. 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 Sell.
We're still going on.
Sell. Sell.
Look at ES. ES is weak too here, so
Sell.
you could see that it's not really, you know.
Sell.
There we go.
Sell.
Look at the
Sell.
velocity here. Look at this. Look at this. Look at how it's
Sell.
moving.
Sell.
This
Sell.
is
Sell.
already
Sell.
the
Sell.
clue.
Sell. 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 Sell.
I just rewinded a bit just to give you guys a better view of what's going on here.
Sell. 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 Sell.
There we go.
Sell. Sell. Sell.
So that was the trade of the day.
Sell. Sell.
It was really very convincing. I think I kind of took, if we just allow this to go on a bit, I'm sure I really did well, because look, 918 is like the low of the day. I really took it to the low of the day. That's a pretty good trade. All right, so that's another trade here. Always the same day, 14th of April. I'll give you the details of this trade here, where NQ had already made new lows and flushed through certain market profile nuance that I look for. I cover certain things that I look at: market profile and volume profile, and NQ kind of respects certain nuances of that, like 80 to 90% of the time, and I really like to see those flushes go through. And that flush did occur. So now we're around the 13,900, and that flush through had occurred. And now I think the fact that NQ, this is a really important correlation tip that I'm giving you guys here. When NQ is making new lows, ES isn't, and Russell is also range bound at that time. Again, the contextual purpose here is euro. I mean, there's nothing on the dollar side that affects the markets this day. So euro was pretty range bound. Russell was range bound. ES was stronger. I mean, I guess it did pull back since NQ was making new lows, but it did not make any lows, and it still became range bound. This is the context where if NQ, or well, actually one of the markets, leads lower, you want to see that additional flush in that market, and that market will most likely be the relative value where it's the cheapest market of the indices, and high odds it will do a rotation higher, and that's the kind of trade I was looking for.
Sell. Buy. Sell. 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 Buy. 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 Sell. Sell. Buy. Sell. Buy. Sell. Sell.
So I went long there. Very aggressive entry, I have to say. My entry was not the best here on this one. Let me just rewind a bit here. Very aggressive entry. Again, rotational wise, I like to see if NQ is trading at 906. If I can give you a little tip here, I don't want to really trade too close to that, and I'd rather go back. I'll let the market come back to me a certain number of points, and the certain number of points, that's how I do the volatility gauge, where I want to see what the volatility is in the current environment, and that's the reason why I have this Sierra chart, a 15-second chart here with the linear regressions, just to give me an idea of the ranges. And in this trade, I'm just aggressive with the entry.
Sell. 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 Sell.
Very aggressive entry.
Sell.
So I always look to scale in, and you see my entry is very aggressive. So if instead of trying to enter here, if I had pulled back a certain number of points, maybe 4 or 5 points here, let the market come to me, it would have been a lot easier to manage this trade. So it's all about the entry. Entry's not the best here. And I will make a little critic on this trade just because I think I didn't really do a good job of managing it, because this trade at the beginning, my entry is bad, and I should have looked to scratch this one. Although all the markets, you'll see here, all the markets just started pushing higher, and that kind of helped my trade here. But my entry was very aggressive.
Sell. Sell. Sell.
So I'm really looking to see if I can go get these targets here, and if I can scale into one more. Here, here's the buying that comes in. So I'm always scrolling around with my ladder here. And this is, look here. Let's just let it run.
Sell.
This here was the thing, the get out. That movement there. It's not always about the tape, but that little movement should have been my thing to just scratch this trade out. Okay, I have a winner here, but I have to say that this should have been a scratch trade. I mean, I think the fact that I had a couple of good winners this day affected me here psychologically, and maybe I was willing to give this a bit more of a bit more patience with this trade, but that initial movement. So I'm just going to rewind a bit, just for you guys to see that movement is key. That's the thing that tells you to get out of trade. You need to learn to scratch. Here, look.
Sell.
That right there. This movement. Although I'm seeing blocks coming in, they're not affecting the price. And then it just takes off here. Now, this is okay. I'm going to show you here. Now look at this. This is more like buying. This is what you want to see as a buyer. This is good conviction that the buying is there. although it does pull
sell,
back a bit,
sell,
but just that movement
sell,
initially that we
sell,
had seen. I mean, again, I think I let
sell,
this trade come back too much, and I should have been
sell, sell,
faster. I could have
sell,
taken profits around the 80, $85 here, and I just let it run,
sell,
but
sell,
it should have been a trade that I should have scratched. And now look,
sell,
it does go in my favor. And look, now the way it's moving
sell,
now, look, the way it's moving now,
sell,
it's what you want to see when you're a
sell,
buyer.
sell,
Here you are. Look at
sell,
that. Look at that. You're in a trade.
sell,
You see this kind of movement with NQ. You'll let it run, and that's exactly what I did.
sell, sell, sell,
So here, um, I'll just let it run. But again, um, at this period here, the fact that it did what I wanted, but really didn't give me that last push, that's already one trigger for me to get out. And I should have been this trade should have been already scratched a long time ago.
sell, 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 sell,
And this is where I'm managing, and I'm trying to leg into another
sell,
one.
sell,
And look how
sell,
it's just gonna do something weird here. Let it run.
sell, sell,
And again,
sell, sell,
nothing's perfect in trading. Don't worry about. I mean, this trade should have been scratched a long time ago. I was too patient with
sell,
this, and
sell,
now the blocks
sell,
now start
sell,
affecting. And look how stupid.
sell,
Sorry, look how crazy the way I managed this trade. I should have been out of this trade long time ago, and
sell,
I
sell,
mean, I put a
sell,
stop here just because
sell,
I'm
sell,
just want to I just want to
sell,
get out of this trade. I just want to get stopped out because I think I was a bit stubborn on that. I should have at some point I was up $200 on it, I think. And when you see that kind of trade where you've been in it for the last 3-4 minutes there, and you've been positive 150 and $200, you should you should not look for additional points in that trade because it's just showing you that there's no conviction either way. Although in that trade I did get a nice push up, so I should have been a bit quicker on taking profits.
sell, sell,
So here's the context of the market just after that trade, because it's going to be useful for me to watch the lows of NQ and Russell at the highs, and ES was again range bound. So again, I always put the context on my charts when I do the screens, recording it on my screens as well, so that we could always refer back to what's going on in that day in the context of that day.
sell, sell,
All right, so
sell, sell,
looking to buy off the lows here on NQ. Again, coming back to what I said earlier, I want to see that flush that occurs and the movement off the lows just because it's the only index that's going down compared to what's going on right here. And it's just one index that's doing that because nothing really on the tape on ES or Russell, and this was not again anything news related. So it's a trade that I take. Um, Not the best management.
sell,
We're gonna get to it here.
sell, 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 sell,
So
sell,
very aggressive entry, but I can
sell,
see that the blocks have been affecting the market.
sell,
So I did kind of like time it well, let's say, but very aggressive entry. And those blocks really did push the market higher. And look how I managed this
sell,
well. I'm
sell,
not really convinced that I did a really good job, but I
sell,
put my stop order at the lows very fairly
sell,
quick, but
sell,
didn't get touched. And this movement, the velocity here, is really convincing to the sell
sell,
side, but it just doesn't pick up. So the momentum doesn't pick up,
sell,
and they just
sell,
squeeze
sell,
the sellers. And look how they squeeze this here. I should have taken the trade
sell,
off here, just because um, the reason why I should have taken this off because I could see that the blocks are coming in at the same prices, right? And uh, they're not going very far. Like the buying is not initiating, a nice 5 point run up. And this is a little stuff that I quickly see on the tape, and that's something that I kind of make sure that I take profits faster when I see that, because I mean, when you get the blocks coming in, they should really, at 94, we should jump to like 900s right away. The nature of NQ really does make a
sell,
difference
sell,
with that kind of
sell, sell,
context.
sell,
And here,
sell, sell,
selling
sell,
comes in. I
sell,
move my
sell,
stops
sell,
right
sell,
away.
sell,
I did a bracket basically. I'm like,
sell,
if it
sell,
touch this or
sell,
touch that, I just get out. So um, the entry was very aggressive, but again, I think overall, according to the context of the market, I think it was good. And even if it was towards the lows of NQ there, like I said, it's because none of the other markets are following it. So, and I showed you the context of the market earlier. That the lows that we had just had in NQ around the 13,880s, let's say, that was a good flush area. That was a good run on stops. So once they ran the stops, I had a conviction that they would most likely reverse it. So based off that pattern, I was kind of looking for this move, and it did work out. So this was the several trades of the day. I really want to emphasize the fact that I'm getting a lot of good feedback from you guys, and really, I really do appreciate if you guys could hit the like buttons more often, and hopefully I could give you guys more context and stuff like that with my videos in the future. And I will look into creating the market profile nuance courses and videos that I wanted to do. It's been a while, and it's something that I'm still working on. And hopefully it could give you guys contextual setups and give you an idea of how, you know, not everything always works, but it's a way of seeing and structuring the market. But at the end of the day, it's all about tape, velocity, the volatility, how is the movement around several prices? Are we sticky around several prices? And are we what kind of what kind of tape do we have? The correlations between the markets. These are the most important nuances, especially if we start trading off the dome like this. A lot of guys will say that charts and all that, it's good for context, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's whatever helps you make money, right, in trading. And I have three screens where I just have the market profile context, and then I have a liquidity footprint chart for ES and for NQ, and then I just have 15-second charts behind my domes here, and that's pretty much it. And lately I've been using the price squawk a bit more, and just to see if that could help, sometimes with focusing more on the tape, because at the end of the day, I'm not sitting here 8 to 10 hours in front of screens and trying to make trades all day, because that's going to exhaust you, and I've done that before, and it's something that's really not good for your health, and for it's really, it does really exhaust you. So hopefully all this helps. Please do hit this the like button and subscribe, and I will also give you a couple of videos here that you could review when it comes to how I trade and all that. And hopefully the screen recordings and the market replays do help, because I've got a lot of good feedback on that as well. All the best, and I will keep you posted when it comes to new courses and new ideas that I have, and hopefully you guys will continue supporting me. Have a nice day.